Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. 3 of the 4 sanctioning bodies have updated their rankings for the heavyweight division, and that's what we'll cover off in this video. The WBC, IBF and WBA. The WBO's timings with its updates didn't work for this video, but we'll get to the 3 and the movement because there is a couple of surprises, but also there's a few losers who dip out here, but obviously there's always opportunities for others to come in, and that will become apparent with the WBC. And some people will say, is it coincidental or is it just something that has been dictated because of what's going on in the heavyweight division? That'll become clear in a moment. But starting at the top here, Deontay Wilder remains at number 1. Obviously, we know that there is a situation where they triggered mediation to try get the 3rd Tyson Fury fight. We'll have to watch the space with what happens there. But most of the rest of the top 15, 2 through about 11 or 12 or so, are virtually the same. But the big loser from this month in the WBC rankings is Derek Chisora. Previously, he'd been at number 12, but he dips out altogether. But 2 through 13, you have Alexander Usyk, Luis Ortiz, Andy Ruiz Jr., Dillian White, Joseph Parker, Daniel Dubois, Oscar Rivas, Filip Hrgovic, Michael Hunter, Joe Joyce, Charles Martin. So pretty much no change there, but Martin coming up a place from 13 to 12 because of Chisora dipping out. But towards the end is where there's a little bit of interest here, because 13 and 14 respectively, F.A. Ajagba and Ajit Kabayal, they both come up one place, but sneaking in there at number 15, Carlos Takam. And remember that there had been some talk that he was potentially in line to face Tyson Fury, one of 2 options, the other being Ajit Kabayal in terms of being the leading options. But now he's in the top 15. That makes it more possible. And where I sort of say, is this just a coincidence, or is this sort of, been sort of engineered to happen? It's a little hard to say, because he was at number 16 last month, and with Chisora losing and dropping out, they've just sort of shuffled him up one place. So make of that what you will. So Fury's been talking about a December the 5th fight, and Carlos Takam is one of the 2 names that are in the front running for that. Ajit Kabayal seemingly does have the inside straight here, but we'll have to see. No opponent confirmed. They had apparently sent a contract to Ajit Kabayal. We will soon see, but Kabayal does seem to have the inside running. As I said, that would be a fresh fight where Carlos Takam, I don't have so much interest in that fight, given he's basically approaching 40. He's had his opportunities and come up short. Kabayal, an undefeated fighter. But moving on to the IBF. Kubrat Pulev, he remains number 1 in the IBF rankings, and similar to the WBC rankings, not a whole lot of change in the top 15. There is one spot further down where it has changed, and that's as a result of Derek Chisora. Just like the WBC, due to his loss to Alexander Usyk, he is gone from the top 15 altogether. So Pulev, number 1, then you have 2 through about 12. No real change. Dempsey McKean is up 1 place, as is Tony Yoka. That's as a result of Chisora dropping out. But at number 13 there, you have Joe Joyce. So he is actually fighting Daniel Dubois at the end of November, so perhaps that's why he has come in here, remembering he hasn't really been fighting at all. So it's hard to know how he would sort of springboard into the rankings off the back of no activity. But, it's the rankings, the sanctioning bodies, they make it up as they go along, as we know. Even the IBF is not prone to a little bit of shenanigans every now and then. But rounding out the top 15, Otto Wallin and also Zhang Zhilei. And Zhilei just had a win just over this past weekend. That was against Devin Vargas. But number 8, you may sort of spot there, Tom Schwartz. So 2019, he loses to Tyson Fury. He has a couple of relatively low-level tune-ups since. I have no idea how he can, they can justify still having him inside the top 10 in the IBF top 15. Remembering the WBO, after about 4 consecutive years of him being ranked, just recently dumped him. So I'm still wondering, how is Tom Schwartz managing to hold on to such a high position? Make of that what you will. Obviously, within here, you have a couple of other guys who are coming up with fights, so their position may change in the next month or two. Joseph Parker. Then again, you had Filip Hrgovic. He's just fought over this past weekend. Perhaps he will climb a spot or two after his recent win. Next month, we'll have to see. Possibly not. Michael Hunter and Filip Hrgovic, there is some talk now that they could be fighting at some point. Eddie Hearn is saying that Michael Hunter is the fight for Hrgovic because they can't get him other risky fights, the sort of fights that Hrgovic wants to be in. So I guess watch this space. And moving on to the WBA, the major inclusion in this latest update, Deontay Wilder back in the top 15 at number 3. He was in their top 15 earlier in the year after his loss to Tyson Fury, but over the pandemic period, when he announced he was taking that third fight, he'd said he triggered the clause. The WBA dropped him again, presumably because he was obviously going to be fighting a champion in another sanctioning body. But with the announcement recently from Tyson Fury, he was moving on, that the contract expired, yada yada yada, Deontay Wilder has come back in. So the rest of the top 15 pretty much the same, and as you'll see here from number 4 down to number 8, a PBC procession, Andy Ruiz Jr., Luis Ortiz, Adam Kovnarski, Charles Martin, Chris Arreola. Further down, you have one change towards the bottom. Christopher Lovejoy, the guy no one has really seen fight, he has dropped out altogether. He was meant to face Dave Allen recently. There were some promotional issues that arose in fight week. That fight didn't happen. So Lovejoy dumped by the WBA, and not for the first time. He's been in and out of their rankings like a bit of a yo-yo in the past couple of years. But Wilder, the main inclusion for the WBA this month, and Lovejoy gone altogether. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.